happens to men as well as women, domestic violence and mental abuse, because that's more scarring, in my opinion, to kind of break someone's esteem.
A man walked out with a machete, started endless killings. A man went into America, into school, started popping bullets. What drives a man to go to that sort of level?
For someone to drive people, a lot of it seems to stem down to...
A relationship only really works if a woman loves a man more than he loves her.
I think a man needs to love a woman more.
Just hypothetically, would you say that man wouldn't cheat, wouldn't sleep with someone else? But would that man never feel like you'd want to have that release, like we said? If she's nagging all the time, then there's that reason to go and cheat.
You know, nobody wants to be rejected, man or woman. When you put it towards a man, he might be digesting that rejection. It comes out in a frustration, it comes out in a bit of an egotistical way. It will come out in females to bounce off, be it your sister, your friend, your best friend, neighbour, a mum at the gate.
Welcome back to Take a Seat. This is the #1 channel for mindset and motivation. Now, some of our videos may already have helped you, or there's a mentor out there helping you get to success. But sometimes you think that money is gonna give you all the happiness in the world. And this is where sometimes mental health starts for some people. People lose their purpose when they get to where they want. Maybe you're an executive, a property owner, somebody who's running your own business. And then all of a sudden you're like, well, who can I talk to? This might be a lonely place. Well, I've got 2 people on today who are helping just with that. They're called ublossom, weblossom. So please welcome Amrit and Gia. How you doing, guys?
Really well, Sean.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Did I get it right? Weblossom, ublossom?
Yeah, you done it perfectly. Yeah, you did it perfectly. Yeah.
I was like, was it ublossom, weblossom, weblossom, ublossom? Like,
You
which
did
way
it
around?
perfectly. Yeah, no, it's great.
How are you?
Yeah, we're good, thank you.
Yeah, it's great
Yeah.
having you on. Do you know, like we connected in a networking event, and it wasn't even in the country, was it?
No, it wasn't. We
Just
had some
shows
fun.
you can form a connection anywhere in the world, right?
Yeah, like I've seen you in rooms, you know, especially big up Savoys, you know, they're great guys, ain't they? But yeah, it was at one of them events, but in Albania. And this is where we got to, you know, speak. And one thing I really noticed that speaking to you guys is like water. It's just very soothing.
Oh, you're so kind.
Thank you.
Sean.
It's true. I don't know if you're good listeners. You're just, I don't know what it is. Where does that come from?
You know, thank you for that. And we have had a few people say that to us. And I think it's only recently, over the last few years, you know, like, this actually comes really naturally to us. We genuinely care when you're talking. We are listening when you're speaking. But yeah, I guess it's thanks to our parents. Mum, she's got quite a calm nature well, hasn't she?
Yeah.
So you think you get them traits from mum?
I think so.
Yeah, and I think mum and dad.
Mum and dad.
Because I think when it comes to dad, he really thinks about before he's going to give advice. And then when his advice comes out, I'm like, whoa, that's good advice. So I think it's probably a combination of both.
So just looking on that part, you know, your environment is really, really important and what you're consuming. So what happens, you know, if you're in a household that mum and dad are like arguing more, or father or mum's not as communicative with you, like don't hug you, don't greet you, it's just like, oh, hello sort of thing. And then it just feels like you're living together, but you're just moving, you know, just moving past each other, and there's no actual real conversation. How does that environment affect people?
Yeah, I think that can be really tough. I'm sure so many people are going through that, but it's about how you create your own peace, your own inner peace for yourself. Because in life, we always react to a situation or that tension, but if you just create that peace for yourself. So, you know, we've been in similar situations in the past where, you know, just wanted, like, if dad's not feeling great, just honestly, just give a massive hug to him, or show even more love if it feels real and if it feels, you know, it's coming from the heart. But honestly, that can really turn things around. Sometimes I'll just go over to Dad, you know, when we're there, and yeah, just give him a big hug. And actually with Mum as well. And sometimes I feel a bit awkward, I think, but I just do it just for a bit of a laugh.
So is that little voice in your head? Do it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's important. I think to do something anyway that feels authentic and genuine is so important. Of course, meaning if it's a positive thing that you're going to kind of, you know, do embrace someone with love, even if they might not be ready for it. But it could just start breaking down that little bit of energy, that tension that could be within someone. We all go through days where tension overtakes us. And then we end up carrying it through the whole day. But that one hug, that one warm, you know, loving gesture or conversation or word just starts melting you a little bit in a good way, melting away that negativity that you're carrying within. I think everyone, and me and Amrit see this quite a lot, everyone needs that positive reaction, impact, and I think more so when you're not expecting it. That's the most important thing. When you're not expecting love, kindness, positivity in part of your day, that's what conquers, and that's what we love doing. We go into, so for example, retail is a sector that's full of, like, you know, toxic vibes. You've got people, you know, stepping over each other, just using retail as an example, as a sector. And then me and Amrit see,
I can hear a lot of everything what it's directing to. It feels like empathy.
Mm.
The feeling of what was that? What if it was me on the other end of the phone? What if it's me serving somebody? You know, somebody can say, "Yo, where's this?" Boom, and I'm gone. And it's just
Yeah.
like, I just feel like used in a way.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm here to provide a service. Yes, I'm here to tell you where that thing is, but I remember I am a human.
Absolutely.
You know, and that empathy is what I'm getting from you. Where does that empathy come from?
I think it comes from being brought up in a household where so as you know, Indian communities can be quite large, but to be honest, we actually stayed close as an intimate family. So our immediate family, we took care of each other, we loved each other, we respected one another. Of course, there were challenges and learns to learn from each other. And I think, again, I think it's from watching our mum. Our mum, so she's a fusion, I would say. She's from 6 years old. She came to the UK. She grew up north. So she was very westernized in a positive way, westernized to the fact that we got choices when we were growing up. You know, we weren't pushed to tradition. We weren't pushed to religion. So Amrit and I have grown up very open-minded when it comes to what a community should be. So we've never kind of taken a one side. We've always looked at a community, and your contribution to community as a collective. So that would include, you know, our friends from all over national wide. So, and now we have so many international friends as well. So I think that open-mindedness is where empathy has also come from, because when you're open-minded towards other people's situation, you can then empathize. And when you start experiencing other people's experiences and, you know, the shoes that they walk in, and you can relate to that, or you can just understand where they're coming from, I think that's where Amrit and I have been very lucky, in a sense, to have experienced life from when we were younger in very different ways. So we used to be, summer holidays were spent in a very Western, you know, in very old English town type up north. So I think we understood that, you know, our identity doesn't define you. Your identity just helps you embrace what you want to get out of life.
I'm feeling a lot of emotions here because like obviously there's a lot coming out, but empathy, relationship, communication, these are all of the things that are coming out. Now there's a certain thing that's, well, men are sort of a little bit different. They have this status, they have this pride. You know, why should I say it first? You know, I did this last time. Why do I have to keep doing it? You know, like, for example, if you're not speaking to one of your parents, for example, and it's a little bit cold and it's a little bit more, you know, knife-edged sort of thing, you might go, I said hello to him 3 times already, and he hasn't even, he goes, all right, and that's it. And it's like, I try, it's like, yeah, I might give him a hug. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
be like, what?
yeah, you know, I might give him a hug. It's like, it's a bit of a, all right, it's all
Yeah.
good. And then it's just like, right, I keep trying here. And it's like banging my head against the wall. Like, so you then kind of go back into your own show because people don't sort of like rejection. When you get rejected, you feel, I don't want to do it again because he's just going to do the same thing all the time. And they might be old school and they might be, their mindset is different. They've had conditions put on their life. They've come from a third world country. They've overcome racism. They've overcome family businesses and where they all have roles. And doing that for a 35-year period, they're very set in their mindset. So it's like throwing a pebble into the water and it goes out. So there's a reaction and then it all just goes back exactly the same. So there could be one conversation you have today. You feel like you're making progress. And then a couple of days later, it's like, all right.
Yeah.
It's like, how did that happen? Was that all a waste? Like, you just can't change it. How do you deal with that?
I think acceptance. You have to accept that those little moments that you have are precious and it could take a while and it may never work, actually. You know how we expect things to be a lot more ideal. It may never get there, but just those moments of conversations that you have are still making, you know, that is providing a bit more hope. But I think we always say that, and we're learning this, you know, the older we get, but it's cliche as it is, but you can't expect to change someone. And I think just thinking that that's okay, really.
Are women built different in the same sort of circumstances? Do they care less about rejection? Are they built differently? Is there a different mindset, do you feel?
I think no one cares less about rejection. I think rejection's quite highly, nobody wants to be rejected, man or woman. I think women, if you look at in a traditional role, women would get rejected if they're putting themselves forward, and then you get rejected. And same with a man, you could, get rejected. But I think women have their own kind of consoling community within their girlfriend community. So they will have fellow females to bounce off and quite openly talk about emotional conversations of feelings of how it felt, and then they will kind of repair almost within that kind of private female community group, be it your sister, your friend, your best friend, neighbor, a mum at the gate. You'll have someone to kind of, I think they're more immediate talking, they're quite more immediate about talking about their feelings. I think when you put it towards a man, he might be digesting that rejection. He'll start be looking inwards and start thinking, what did I do towards that? But the most important thing that we have found is that they're not communicating that. They're not communicating that with someone that they trust, that they are feeling rejected. And in a way, what sadly happens, it comes out in another way. It comes out in a frustration. It comes out in a bit of an egotistical way. It will come out in another form, but really it was deep rooting inside of them that they got rejected about something in particular. So that's kind of the difference. Is I think men are processing it inwards and ladies are straight out. Let's get it out. Let's discuss it. I've already got my group that I connect with. And whereas men are probably floating around a little unsure who to trust and who to have that conversation, because reject is a big thing for a man, right? It's, as you were saying before, a status thing. But I think the most important thing when it comes to rejection, I think we put too much emphasis of what that means to us personally. Let's look at it as a rejection towards a situation as opposed to a personal rejection to who you are, because a rejection can't define your happiness. It is part of an experience, a situation, a scenario, and then we're not good as humans to kind of move on quick enough from a situation. And that would be something that Amrit and I would love to help people to move on from situations that hurt your feelings, in essence. That's what's happened.
So you've sort of identified that, talking is therapy.
Yeah.
And releasing, getting something off your chest.
Yeah.
It reminds me of something of my grandfather, actually. My grandfather would always cry when something affected him. And even my dad says, like, you know why granddad don't have no wrinkles? Because he was like 80 and he didn't have no wrinkles or nothing. And he goes, because he gets stuff off his chest straight
Yeah.
away. And he cries about
Yeah.
it. And he goes, oh, now I've had a cry, I feel better now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I noticed, like, maybe he was intelligent enough to see that that's what women also do.
Yeah.
You know, they cry. You know, I've also seen when girls like break up from a relationship, they go and meet up with their girlies, don't they? And it's like,
Yeah.
and all the girls will huddle around.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
worry, he won't worth it. You're too good for this
Yeah.
situation. They have that support system.
Yeah.
And what you've identified is it's different for a man.
Yeah.
Totally. And what we've come across, like you said, heartbreak, anything that might be a little bit embarrassing for men in particular to share, they do hold that in. And we do see that when we have people approaching us, sometimes that shame, that embarrassment, that guilt, all of these play a part in a lot of men not wanting to open up. But like you said, your grandpa, you know, him crying and letting that go, that is just that release. There's nothing wrong with it. We all process emotions differently. So for him to just express that, yeah, it obviously did him, it worked well for him. So, yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, it's bringing us nicely onto what you guys sort of do. So, what are the most common things that you see in men? What are the common situations that are like, yep, it falls into this category, that category, or that category? Are they categories even? Or is it a normal sort of baseline emotion that you then go and manage that emotion? How does it work?
Everyone is individual. So, you know, we try not to label anyone or anything that they might bring to us in a box, but by just allowing them to speak, you can identify over a number of sessions that is it the relationships, is it something from childhood that may need to be sort of dug out, uprooted and thrown out so that it's actually stopping someone from moving forward, because we all have something that is holding us back, so we just need that support to uncover that. We act like a mirror to sort of help. So yeah, relationships, say work, sometimes self-confidence, self-doubt. So is anything.
And I think the biggest thing that I found is pressure, self-pressure, putting pressure on yourself when you're a man and what that then ends up being. So there's this pressure flying over your head. You know, I need to be the provider. I need to be the good dad. I need to be amazing at my job as a director, as a manager. I need to then, you know, on vanity side, I then need to possess the best, you know, the car and the house and keeping up with the Jones. This pressure is the common thing that we have found, which then leads into overwhelm, burnout, self-doubt. But it's the pressure which is actually the common you know, denominator, the factor that all plays in. I would say, I would call it like negative outlets. So it then turns into drinking, it then turns into gambling, it then turns into, you know, frustration. It could then turn into frustration, leads into being quite physical with someone. It all kind of stems like this. And then I think Amrit and I like to kind of scoop it all up and start again. Because I think that's kind of what we bring in. We bring in, the most important thing is we support men who are ready. That's the most important thing. You can't force someone to be ready to start communicating, because that is the essence of what we're talking about here. Communicating through coaching, communicating through mentorship. It's about us providing that holistic, safe space of them to be able to communicate with us. And then it's a reset. And that's where you can start then. And like Amrit was saying, we can't frame anything. They need to start sharing. So it's a kind of a new feeling for them sometimes. Like, oh my gosh, I've been given this space to talk about whatever I want without judgment. So yeah.
So, how does males today in this new world that we live in, because it is a very new world compared to what we, you know, went through, and not just sort of emotionally, but also like all the pressures that you talk about, buying that car, having that mortgage, being the main breadwinner. We live in a totally different society. You could buy a house for 15 grand back in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could buy a house for £50,000 in 2000. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Even 2010, you might get on a house like that for 150,000. Now, house prices are like $500,000.
Mhm.
And if you got that traditional setting of I'm the provider, very quickly you're like, well, I'm on a good salary, 40, 50,000. That ends up being 3 grand a month. How the hell am I supposed to, support my partner,
Mhm.
kids, bills, all the things that I really want to do, go on holidays? None of this fits. So my purpose, becomes sort of a little bit more, diminished a little
Yeah.
bit,
Yeah.
I'm less powerful now.
Yeah.
And men like to feel powerful. They
Yeah.
like to feel large and in charge, you know what I
Yeah.
I
mean?
like that. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But all of a sudden they're not getting that. And actually, do you know what? A point here is when you think hunter gatherers, how men are built,
Mhm.
they're hunters. They're going out to hunt. But now you're an employee and you're going into work and your boss is telling you what to do
Mhm.
and why you're on a performance improvement plan, why you didn't hit your sales figures, why customer satisfaction results, why we haven't got the 5-star Google rating right now, why don't we have, a bunch of things. So you're going to work and you're getting beaten up. And then you might come home and your partner might be moaning at you.
Mhm.
Why aren't you doing that? Why aren't you doing this?
Yeah.
Why can't you help me with that? And he's feeling less empowered in the house. So he's lost his power everywhere.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then this thing called mental health happens. Because out of nowhere, men are doing things that end up on the news. A man walked out with a machete, started endless killings.
Mhm.
A man went into America, into schools, started popping bullets into schools.
Mhm.
What drives a man to go to that sort of level that his mental health is just so unstable that almost a cry for help and attention? I think it's not the fact that he wanted to do it, because I don't think anybody wants to
No.
No.
cause harm to anybody, but it's all these emotions he doesn't know
Mhm.
how to handle.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think, all of that?
Yeah. I think you've touched on quite a few things. A lot of it seems to stem down to financial stress. I think a lot of things in life that result in mental health. Yeah, there are other areas too, but I feel like the common denominator is financial stress. Like you were saying, G, the keeping up with the Joneses,
Mhm.
trying to keep up with everyone, having the best next thing. But what I think that is, a lot of us aren't just happy being like we're not content with what we have. Yes, I think we think it's so important to be ambitious and striving for more. That's great. We need to make the most of life, but while you're still working towards that, to be happy with what you have, who you have around you. But there's so much of this that we're not even taught at school. Like you said, the opening up for someone to drive people to do, going into school and everything that's happening in the news now. It's so depressing what's out there. But yeah, there isn't that support. There isn't that support. Men, women, everyone. We're all the same at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I think the most important thing that we've not had an opportunity as 21st century people to do is to rewrite our own stories. So we're living off a story that the system wrote for us and we're not questioning it. So when we are trying to keep up with the Jones, when we are trying to stay as an employee as opposed to a self-employed business entrepreneur, we're accepting that that's the story that's going to be our future. That's the story that we're teaching our children, that this is okay just to be told and just to behave as a zombie, or to behave in the way that's expected from us. Now, when I say don't behave the way that's expected from us, I'm not saying to do a negative thing. I'm saying do a positive, influential thing. And Amrit knows that, I believe in don't ever put anyone on a pedestal. I do not put people on pedestals. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care that you've achieved X number of stuff, because at the end of the day, I don't truly know you, and I don't know how clean you are. I don't know how you've achieved it. These are all factors that we don't get to see on someone's story that they are sharing. So don't put anyone on a pedestal to be then let down the line to go, oh my gosh, they did that through corruption, or they did that through X amount. So focus on yourself. Focus on your own story. Focus on your story that you want to create with your family, for your future kids, for the future generations. I think that's so important. And then I just want to hit back on something that Amrit was saying and you were saying about, what causes a man's mental health to deteriorate. I have personal experiences in this from an ex-partner who had bipolar. So I've seen what mental health does to a person who seemed quite together and then it just crumbled. And I think the biggest thing that I can share from that was lack of sleep. And the lack of sleep was because there was too much going on up in here in the mind, and like the pressures, like being bullied at work, just so many pressures which keep you awake. And if you're not resting your mind, it becomes a very dangerous place to be in. And I was, as you know, I was on the other side of the receiving end of someone who doesn't have a rested mind. That just then spirals out of control of how they behave, how they react, how they're connecting with people or not connecting with people, how there's sparks and outburst of frustration, violence. Lack of sleep, I think, is the biggest thing that doesn't make a man's mental health, does no favors to a man's mental health.
Gia, look, you've been in an unkind situation in the receiving end, but when all these pressures are happening, obviously your partner's not relaying what he's thinking or releasing it because it's building up. So it doesn't go to work, it doesn't go to friends, his family. Why did it get directed to you? Why was everything channeled to you in terms of, you went through domestic violence, why was that the answer? Why was that ever the answer?
I think that's a very good question. Why was it? I think so sticking with the traditional story of man and wife, through thick and through thin, you stick by your partner. So I think that was the role that I was fulfilling. I was fulfilling the role through sickness and health. And there you go. There was a mental health. That's a sickness in a sense of someone's not fully themselves. So I was the one taking the responsibility, call it, of being the provider, of being the carer, of being whatever what we would call traditionally would have been a male role was actually my role, on top of being a carer, on top of being supporting through doctor's appointments and whatever else it might have been. I think the domestic violence was it was it was never expected. And I think on hindsight, you would say, oh, goodness me, you wish that you had made a different decision, a different choice at that time, the first incident took place. Because what ends up happening is it progressively gets worse. And then when it gets progressively worse, you get more caught up within your situation, out of embarrassment, out of not wanting to share what's going on in the home. My family now know I didn't share anything with them what was going on throughout that period of time. It came out later. So in that way, and I've shared on previous somewhere, that my own mental health started declining. So here I'm trying to be a carer for someone with a mental health condition, but actually it then ends up being your own mental health that gets impacted as well, because you're isolated.
You're not communicating
And
again.
you're no longer communicating. So it's so why Amrit and I do what we do, it means so much more to us than us just being a mindset and well-being consultancy. I would say I've experienced both ends of the spectrum, from somebody personally from a long-term relationship having first-hand mental health condition, to then it impacting myself. So being an inexperienced myself and being a carer. So And I think something me and Amrit talk about is, some people would have thought that I might have become a feminist, because of my situation, but I am totally the opposite. I'm not a feminist. When I raise awareness on domestic violence, it's on for both men and women. It's very important because it happens to men as well as women, domestic violence and mental abuse. Like, you can't miss the mental abuse part, because that's more scarring, in my opinion, to kind of break someone's esteem. And then I think it's a part of giving back, isn't it? It's a part of changing the story. It's a part of making sure there's a movement there that we can support future generations. If you've seen your dad, your uncle, your granddad behave in a certain way, or you've seen your mum, your auntie, your sister behave in a certain way when it comes to behaving, speaking, language, communication, we're here to support, to change that for you. This isn't about carrying on those negative behaviors and that spiral out of control. And something in my mind, I've got a project. I want to write a kid's story on this subject, because it's important for them to see that what they're going through is heard, it's seen, but there's always another way of not carrying on the pattern.
So imagine there's a woman who's watching this right now,
Mhm.
or a lady, girl, and she's like, look, you've been through unkind situations.
Mhm.
What are some of the red flags because obviously when you first got into the relationship, things were good and sweet, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You had a couple of years of a honeymoon period.
Yeah. We had that. Yeah.
Yeah. And oh yeah. I was a bit too. She looked up. She
That's
thought
the
about the
memory
situation.
chat.
Hey. So you had a really, good relationship. What are the red flags that you've learned then you can now give as lesson to other people? Like, you better watch out for this,
Mhm.
and try support in this way. And if that support's there and it's still not going the way, you get out.
Yeah.
Imagine you're speaking to a sister, a daughter,
Mhm.
someone of that nature, and going, look, I've been here. This is, what you need to watch out for.
Yeah. I think the first thing I would say, which I didn't know, was learn what a healthy relationship actually is. That's the first instance. We go through life and family where even our own parents might not be in a healthy relationship. So firstly, I'd say educate yourself, learn about what dating coaches are saying about what a healthy relationship looks like, what value someone can bring into your life, and equally what value you can bring into someone's life. So that's the first thing. Understand what a healthy relationship looks like. Then from that, don't confuse control with love. So I think that's a flag for me. Thinking control means he or she loves me more is not the truth. Control is a behavior that's going to soon spiral out of control. So that's things like, oh, don't wear that dress, that's a bit revealing, or oh, no, don't go there, or we're not going there, or even money control. Any kind of controlling behaviors are a red flag. I think the other thing would be, so even in control communication, when you're realizing that you're not picking up the phone to your mum, your sister, your best friend, and you're kind of started to become a bit more close in proximity just with your partner, and you're not having a life of your own as well as being a partner in a relationship, that's another red flag, because you're now becoming isolated from your loved ones, your community, and that's kind of a good place where, say, a cat would want to get a mouse in the corner of a room, so you're kind of literally just bouncing off them all the time. You become dependent on them. I think one of the biggest things that I would love to share was neglecting myself to know what was wrong and right when I full well knew in my gut what wasn't right. So for example, when that first strike happens, when that first even form of mental abuse, or they took control of your spending, or you had to ask them for money, or this kind of stuff, if that starts feeling a bit uncomfortable, start questioning it. Question things earlier when you start feeling uncomfortable about things. And most importantly, speak to someone in confidence, and get that advice. Or, if you're in a position where you can leave, do leave. Because I think when we start we start adjusting our boundaries to fit with someone that we think we love so much. But that's where I was saying, learn what a healthy relationship is, because when you start thinking you love somebody so much, that actually really means that you're caving in more than they are, that you're actually giving into the partner more than they are giving to you. And this is where the overwhelm of feeling of I'm so much in love with them and I can't live without them feeling kind of comes from.
I've had friends that say that a relationship only really works if a woman loves a man more than he loves her.
I believe it's the other way around. I think a man needs to love a woman more, because I think naturally a woman is motherly, loving. I think a woman has enough love to give in a relationship, and I don't personally think she needs to go overboard. I think it's the man that needs to start saying, hey, I love you. I'm going to start communicating with you. I'm going to start sharing more of me with you. And then you kind of meet here somewhere.
Yeah, but I feel that some women, they use that as a weapon. Yeah, you told me this last time. Like a man goes, yeah, I actually have an insecurity here and there and there. And what she should do is go, okay, I understand that, feel, felt, found, sort of like empathy. But the next argument you're having, that woman is bringing that insecurity out. And you know what that does? Is that man will never ever talk about any of his insecurities again.
I hear you on that. I think that's where communication's the biggest part. I wouldn't know if you'd agree. It's like, I think it's absolutely wrong that the woman would do such a thing, because to me,
It's quite regular.
yeah, it's not a nice
Women
behavior.
women love to get the upper hand. They do love. Women love power. I feel women love to control their man. A woman can make you look this big or that big in a room. She can walk into a room that you're going to a restaurant and guys are looking at up and down. She can have that laser eye straight onto her table. You know, this is my man. Somebody could approach your woman and she could just be like, move and end off. And it makes you look like that big in a room. Or a woman on the opposite side can walk in and go, someone goes, oh, hi, how are you? You know, all nice, you know, allowing other people to intrude. And you're the man who's sitting back and going, hi, yeah, I'm here, by the way. I feel this small right now. And that woman actually gets more power over you because she's like, do you see what I can get? Do you see what if you make one mistake, mate, there's a queue waiting here. But I feel men do feel vulnerable. That's why I say, if a woman loves a man more, I feel men are very simple creatures. You know, a woman just wouldn't sleep with a man just for the physical side of things. Women are more emotionally connected.
Yeah.
Where men, and I'm not saying this is right or wrong, because even 2 guests ago, which you've probably seen this already, guys, because if you haven't, then watch Frenzo Harami's episode. But he's a pimp.
Okay.
Yeah. And he doesn't condemn it, but he said women have approached him because they see him as someone who's protective. And he says you get an accountant, solicitor, and then you get someone called a prostitute. It's a business. It's somebody who wants to be successful in that line, who know they can use their assets, etc. But he actually says that his business saves a lot of marriages because men are trying to, you know, men are programmed differently. They could go out and sleep with somebody and come straight home and be a better husband or a partner because it was just this reaction in their head where they go, I just wanted to do this physical thing. I didn't love that person, don't want to be with that person. It was just like eye candy, you know? It was like going to the gym, for example, you know, that sort of feeling. So when he's got a woman that loves him, hi babe, how you doing? What do you want to eat tonight? I'm going to make that for you. You know, like I feel we're always craving for our mum. A mum is the safe place. She's the one who will throw herself in front of a train for you. You just know it. She'll protect that home environment. And I feel that's what we're always looking for. Somebody who's safe, someone who's what you want to eat. Can I get that ready for you? And you're just like, whoa. Like, you don't want to undermine that woman for doing these minuscule tasks, but then minuscule tasks, like there's a guy called Andrew Tate and he goes, eating healthy is shit. But he didn't mean that. He goes, oh, cooking all this healthy stuff is shit. You're in the kitchen, you're making food, and all of a sudden an hour's gone, hour and a half's gone. You've just lost some productivity. You could have done work in that time. You could have made some phone calls in time. You're sitting there cooking. So you either just go and get some quick food, but some healthy chicken and some rice, and then he just says this little thing at the end, or get your woman to do it. But he's not undermining that woman. He's saying if that woman did that small task for you, that's it. In that hour, you could be more productive as a man. Like, for example, even if you're taking your packed lunch from home, you're not leaving the office now to go and buy other unhealthy food, spending money. If your woman's done that for you, for example, it sort of made him more productive. And that man's going, you know what? She's a good cook, you know. You know, I'm not even at home right now, but I like that taste. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not trying to undermine roles and what a woman should do and what a man should do. I'm not coming from that angle, but I'm just thinking that's always been my thought. That I feel that's why I believe that, in my opinion, being a successful alpha male myself is that, you know, men want that woman who loves him. You know, no matter what, I love you, you're here. And he goes, I can go home to that and I feel safe there. Is that a wrong sort of mindset?
But,
like,
yeah, I wanted to ask you, so that woman in particular,
yes,
just hypothetically, would you say that man wouldn't cheat, wouldn't sleep with someone else? Because yes, she's protective, she's motherly, she's cooking, she cares and loves him so much. But would that man never feel like he'd want to have that release, like we said, you know, that eye candy? I'm just curious because, like you said, the other side was that if she's nagging all the time, then there's that reason to go and cheat. So yeah, I was just curious about your thoughts on that.
Yes. So I feel then this is where the male presence is very, very important. Who's leading you in terms of, like, I've always seen the leader as my dad. My mum's the full support system. She's the life support system. She goes missing, everything falls apart. But your father, your male figure, he's dominant. He's teaching you how he's leading that army. He's forefront, moving forward. That's how it's always been. And I feel them ethics teach a man. And sometimes when you don't have that man figure in your life, that's when things go heavily wrong as well and men get lost. Because women support, but men provide that direction. And I feel that, like, my dad was always with the one says, never cheat on your woman. You look after that woman. you know, make her feel special. You know, like, you don't need anything else. You should be content, you know. And then it's like, woof, these are the rules. Like, this is what. So we need a little bit of leadership. We need them sort of blueprint, sort of what you can and can't do, because we're feeling all sorts of emotions growing up. Testosterone, all hormones, all your friends are going out, they're getting drunk, you know, they're getting in clubs, pubs, everything's off limits. Nowadays, people, when they go uni and they've been constrained a little bit, as soon as they're out in uni, they go wild, which I respect. Why, you know, you've been brought up quite openly, open-minded, you know, maybe, you know, I feel that when you're in that situation, you're less likely to do than things because you're already exposed and it's just like, oh, there's the crazy one over there.
We're the crazy ones.
Do you know what I mean? I don't know where this sort of is going, but I just wanted to sort of have that level of feeling out as well, because there'd be certain people who are feeling exactly how I'm saying, you know? So, you know, where is the blueprint? How to do life?
Yeah.
How do you do life?
Well, I think what you've shared, that's one scenario.
Yeah.
One healthy relationship that works. So it's
Traditional.
it's traditional
what's been passed through
Yeah.
generations. As I was saying before, we haven't quite questioned it. Dynamics have changed. And I always say to my daughter, there's different types of family type now. You know, I'm in a non-traditional family type. It's me and my daughter, and that's our family. So I think when you're talking about the guidance, the leader, I am that in my pack.
Okay.
That's me. So equally,
But you recognize that.
yeah, I recognize that. And then also I've got a beautiful friend who's raised a young boy who's now going to be 16. She's the leader of that pack. She would be teaching him what's wrong, right, what's how to respect a woman, how to, you know, how to behave in society. And I can see she's done an amazing, beautiful job as well. So I think the leaders have changed now, and I think you probably have seen women are equally dominant, but maybe in a more empathetic way. So I think it's about what you're comfortable with and what you're okay to accept. So, you know, if we're going to follow the same story all the time, then yeah, it's the man's in charge, the man's going to be dominant. And I don't disagree with you that a man absolutely has a vital role to play. So just because my daughter, I'm leading like her leader, doesn't mean she doesn't go hang out with her granddad, doesn't mean she doesn't go hang out with her uncle, because I totally respect the role of a man and what contribution he brings to the upbringing of a child. I think I think it's you know, you touched on so much there.
I did, yeah.
So much.
I did go on a tangent, even I didn't know where I was going.
That's okay.
No, but it's fine because it's flow, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day,
Yeah.
you're flowing, you're processing your own thoughts, you're sharing it amongst your community. Who's it's great, but you know the most important thing, you're communicating. So that's what you're doing right now. You're communicating, you're sharing your thought process. And that's where Amit and I always say it comes down to being open to just share. You know, you might be vulnerable after you've just shared your thoughts, but who cares? Because at the end of the day, they were your thoughts. So I think
I don't think there was anything wrong with it.
no, and
No,
I'll
there
say
isn't.
thank you for sharing them with us, because it's nice to see how other people are thinking. It's very important. And I think when we're talking about, you know, it's always about, you know, even when something starts going a little bit wrong in a relationship, you know, let's talk about traditional relationship, man and woman. And she still could be, if we're talking about traditional, she still could be doing all the great things, but like Amrit was saying, but there still could be something missing. The link or the growth together could have started like, you know, fizzling out, that you're not actually both aligned on wanting the same things, but yet she's still doing the nice things and she's still loving you. But you as a man, or, you know, have started thinking differently, but you forgot to communicate that with your partner. And I think that's where when things start getting boring, I think so many people are ready to move on in different ways. And I think relationships, you know, they take energy and effort from both sides. And I think it takes both sides not to be accepting what the normal role was, because I think it's exciting to change up the roles as well, you know, like collaborative cooking in the kitchen together, having a conversation with your wife when you come back from work, rather than thinking you're just going to send one more email or you're just going to take one more call while she's put the pasta in, you know, boiling water or something. I think it's important to start looking at things differently. And I think the most important thing is we've got to respect that our ancestors, our family, they dealt with a certain character at that time, you know, whoever their spouse may have been. And then now we would have different characters of our spouse that we're going to be. So somebody new into the family could be bringing something totally new and beautiful that you have to embrace. And then that kind of starts questioning your traditional thought processes.
I do agree with your communication, but me helping in the kitchen, collaborating, ain't paying the bills. Ain't paying the bills. I've already gone out and got the bread home. You know, I've come in, bought the bread home. Like you get some really, really billionaires, like real billionaires, and they say, like, for example, we was in the same room as the Prime Minister of Albania. And I'm pretty sure that I spoke to him about success, and I said, what makes you successful? And he said, the right partner.
Yes.
Yeah.
Having that right woman, you know, behind every successful man is a strong woman. I've seen interviews with a guy called Barry Hearn. I don't know if you know Barry Hearn, but basically he's the guy behind who puts the promotion behind darts. His son is Eddie Hearn, Matchroom Boxing, who puts on the boxing shows.
Okay.
It's now in Saudi Arabia, done the biggest one in Wembley Stadium. They're worth about 800 million officially, so I'm pretty sure they're a billionaire, because everyone does a little bit here and there, And Barry's like, so what's it like? You don't speak much about the women. And he goes, mate, listen, I go out and work, swing some balls on the golf club. Yeah, I come home, she puts the food on. As soon as I talk about business, she goes, no, none of the business talk. Don't want to hear none of that. What music we're listening to is Christmas dinner and stuff like that. Like, we're completely different, but it works.
Yeah.
And that's what makes us like, and I saw same thing with my granddad. He'd go to the corner shop, and then my uncle would pick him up and take him door to door selling. And then he'll come home. But my grandma's sort of put the food on the table, and then she'll be like, bringing up different conversations. They're very, very different. I've always seen very different relationships between a man and a woman. But there is some sort of common ground where it gels. He's appreciating her because she's doing something for him, which is putting food on the table. And I don't know if you've ever fasted or anything like that, but when people go without food, it makes you very unhappy very quickly.
Yeah.
It makes you grumpy. So, if that woman's getting that food right, 50% of you is happy already, you know?
And it should work both ways, right? So she should be happy to provide the food as well. So it's not as if the man needs the food on the table and she's like, okay, I'll get it done. It's collaborative, and it's agreed that that's her role. But when you said that, actually, I was just quickly scanning some relationships that I know sort of around successful men. And actually, some of their wives are running the home and really happy doing so, and looking after the kids and cooking and there seems to be that agreement and that happiness there.
I think that's the key word, agreement.
Agreement, yeah. So I think as long as it's not forced upon or just assumed that is the role for the woman. But then occasionally I do see that the woman,
they're looking for more.
They are looking for more.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about everyone, but occasionally I'll get a feeling that actually, does she want more? Does she want to do more, for herself, find her purpose, her passion? Because we all get bored of doing the same thing. So is that a bit selfish of the guy just going out doing his own thing? And
not really. I think a lot of men go, well, she wants a part-time job. Go and get a part-time job. If she wants a gym membership, here's the gym membership. Go and do your sauna, steam, go out, pedicure, manicure with your friends. Like, you've got freedom to do that sort of side. If I'm going out, like, a man shouldn't also be like, hey, you just sit at home, wait for me, and that's the only thing you're doing. If you go out and talk to anybody else, it's over, or you're getting it, for example. Like, it should never be that.
No.
It should be that level of trust is, I do love you, you're amazing, I need you in my life to support me, but you also get to do these other things as well that you want to do. Because, again, a guy, Andrew Tate, he says, I see two women in a room. One, they both say 55. One's got a career and she's the CEO on £1 million package. Pearl necklace, lovely suited booted, just there. But very unfulfilled as well, because women want to feel fulfilled in terms of personal life, who they have around us as well. And then I see another woman who's never worked a day in her life, but she has 50 people around her. Why? Because she had maybe 5 children. And from the 5 children, she's had 15 grandchildren, who's got great-grandchildren. Who are you respecting more? Who's provided more for society? I'm respecting that woman who's created that legacy, because she brings up good, strong men for society to help do all these jobs, tarmac, roads, be dustmen to help the economy and stuff. Whereas this lady's felt a career is my choice. I want to be a strong, independent woman. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that, but I'm just saying this is what other opinions are. So I'm trying to get to the bottom. What is fulfilling a woman? Because if mental health is with men And I believe mental health does stem, for who they communicate with, who they can talk to, who they can rely on. And I do believe a big part of that is your girlfriend, it's your partner, it's your spouse, your marriage, your wife. But is that woman recognizing her roles, or has society put all of these other beliefs? Because I even believe that in the 1930s, 1940s, 1950s, there was more men working. Is that more an agreement?
I'm not sure because
Apart from the wars.
war,
The
yeah,
Apart from the
because
wars.
women, that's when they took a stand, didn't
Sure.
they? Yeah.
Sure. So,
But the majority, I'd say, probably
yeah.
yes.
But that was a little bit of an anomaly because someone had to do the work. But then all of a sudden, the governments realized, hey, hang on. If the men go at work, we get taxes and we earn money. If we send both of them to work, we've just got the other half now.
Yeah.
Do you think there's some sort of, not that, hunter-gatherers thing inside us, because that's what I'm trying to get to. Where are them raw emotions rather than the emotion of, hey, the government says, oh, there's feminists there, like someone's promoting this. Like everything's an advert. You got music artists, yeah, who weren't that big, but all of a sudden they're paying, pay that guy, pay that sponsorship company, pay the best boxer, let him play the music. All of a sudden, he makes it right for you to listen to that music. Because Mayweather's watching it. Central C's playing here. They're in these places. All of a sudden, you're just, I should be following him. Because that's, human beings like to be led. We were all in that room when Chris Spearman said, stand up. And we all stood up.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, this is what human beings like. You like being led. So are we being led the right way with all this propaganda, this advertisement, all of this, a man should be this, woman should be this, a woman should have equal pay. Like, I believe if they are doing the same job, yeah. But is a woman going to do welding jobs? Is she going to be a dust person? I had a friend Rami saying, I had police in front of me. Do you know what? I've never got away from police until I was faced with two women officers. I walked straight through them and all they were doing were calling for backup. We can't obviously do the same roles, but we want that equal power as well. So that's what I'm coming from. What is that emotion of a woman's role? What do you feel?
I feel like, honest opinions, each to their own. I think for us to put anyone in a generalization, and even from a past generalization, I think we're being small-minded or narrow-minded if we do that, and if we continue generations going, but that was their role back then. There was different economic crisis at that time. There was different needs at that time. There weren't even opportunities. I think that's the most key word. There were not opportunities. So women were going to stay at home. Women were going to not test the water and see if they could or couldn't do a particular job. So I think each to their own of what the role of a woman is. And that's the beautiful thing of life. You do have the power, be man, be woman, be whoever you choose to be in life. You have the power within yourself to make that decision. And when you're talking about being influenced by, the media, propaganda, of course it's happening every day. And that's where I feel it's such a great shame that we are listening without questioning. I think it's a shame that we go, oh, that's what I meant to do. I'm not going to use my own brain to say, was that actually okay for me? Was that actually aligned with where I was going in my life?
But them thoughts come from somewhere. And it comes from a conditioning when you're born and you're growing up and you're going to school. Them thoughts, these are belief systems being downloaded.
Yeah.
Hey, hang on, let me say one thing. Nothing was broken. Till 1900, we survived as a species. You had some great leaders, Alexander the Great, some great people who won big wars. You know what I mean? This last 50, 70, 100 years, things have radically changed. And all of a sudden, this mental health thing is coming.
Yeah.
That's what point I'm coming at as well.
But I think to just base it on gender role is absolutely not the correct thing to do. To just base it on the system, absolutely not the right thing to do. It's a it's varied factors that feed into why mental health is where it is for each individual.
We were talking, sorry to interrupt you, but we were talking about social media.
Absolutely.
Right? Technology. So, yeah, I think we're not focused about gender that much,
No,
are we? We've
no,
never
no.
really grown up
Yeah.
sort of thinking about that. Even where we've come from. Like you said, we used to go see our grandparents up north. Never used to think about like we're Indian or anything like that.
Yeah.
But going back to the social media part of it,
Yeah.
and like we said, the world has changed so much over the last few years very quickly.
Yeah.
You know, we even see our parents not being able to keep up to date with how quickly things are changing. Even us, you know, we're looking to the kids now to help us with certain things, but that can become a really dark place for a lot of people. We see it all the time. Even the TV shows, I'm not going to mention any names, but you know, people go on there, then they come out, they can't handle the stress and the comments. It's just overload with so much, and we're not taught. You know, I feel blessed that we're all very similar age, that we've grown up with it, without it, and I feel like we have a bit of control over it, some of us. And the youngsters, they're so easily influenced, keeping up with each other. You know, I went through a period where I didn't read much news, and it was great. We're very positive, optimistic. Obviously, you know, things happen in life, but for some reason I'm reading a bit more news recently because I want to see what's out there, what's influencing people, what's, you know, the net. Not that I just want to learn from it so that we can educate my niece, the other kids that are out there, because I think it's important to know. But it just breaks my heart seeing how some of the and I'm talking about youngsters now, it doesn't matter if they're men or boys or girls, but some of them taking their own lives because of the comments, the things that are happening over the world about I don't know if I can pronounce it correctly, but sextortion. You know, kids are being blackmailed for sending clips, and then people are asking for money, and I'm like, wow. And then these youngsters end up killing themselves because they can't face the shame, the guilt, they can't speak to anyone. So really, I know we keep bringing up this topic, but it's all about talking to each other. Life's all about relationships, about us opening up, about us talking. You've asked us before, why do people come and talk to us? Because we don't judge. And I mean it from our heart. You come to us, doesn't matter what you've done before. I think Mum's always given us a place like that. Open up. You know, we're not going to say that was bad. You know, it's like, come on, you are here where you are. You've done what you've done. It's fine. But let's move on from it. And like I appreciate history. I really do. But I also like to think forward, where we are right now. How can we make things better? And I think there's so much work to be done in this area.
I think we're in a turbulent stage at this moment. So we're in a turbulent stage with mental health right now, which has been quite consistent through the pandemic, and it's continuously going on. We know there's lack of resource and support and availability of the support that men and women both need when it comes to their mental health. And as Amrit was saying before, you know, as much as technology is an enabler, it's actually disabling people and ruining people because of the freedom that technology brings. So, you know, part of technology comes social media, part of technology comes working from home in a hybrid situation, which then leads to isolation and leads to different forms of, online bullying and so forth. So technology, as much as it's given us great things, I don't think we were ready to embrace what amazing things it could bring to us, because with it came issues. And I think those issues were either ignored in order for the acceleration for companies to progress and, be the first to bring out something. So I think if you were going to do an analysis of technology, it would be interesting to know, well, I know personally, things weren't taken into consideration of everything that could have been needing support, as in, call it the aftermath or the effects of technology that it would have on people. And I think as Amrit said, as an optimistic person, I'd like to say we are going to get in the near future, we will get to a position where the mental health status of people becomes much calmer, and that they do get the support they need. And the most important thing that I think sometimes when resources are not available, the most important thing is, how can I help myself? Do I go and seek coaching independently? Do I go and seek mentoring? Do I start joining mental health and well-being communities to start helping myself? Because actually that help on the NHS has got a 2-year waiting list. You kind of got to start looking at things. How much do you want to move on from that situation and self-guide yourself in coming out of a situation? Now, I'd put my hands up and say I've been through depressive states, and I've taken myself out of those depressive states because there was that little spark within me that said, you know what, you can do this yourself. So I used to call it, I gave myself a kick up the backside, if I'm honest with you, gave a kick up the backside and said, you know what, G, you can do this. And I appreciate not everyone can do that, because it really depends how mental health has really impacted you. But I think if you are strong enough and you have that spark where you're questioning what's going on with my day, it's not the way I want it to go, and you know that there's a dark cloud over you, but you've got that little bit of awareness, I'd say absolutely reach out to the right channels and get yourself over it, because you can self overcome with support, without just waiting for the system to provide.
What do you say to somebody who goes, the more you talk about mental health, the more you'll get mental health? Yeah.
Do people say that?
Some people say that. There's actually one
Really?
big influencer who says,
Yeah.
talking about mental health is going to give you mental health. But all of that, if you're in a down situation, get yourself in the gym. Yeah? Go to the gym, push something, do stuff that you couldn't do before, release them endorphin rushes, get yourself in that sort, and then you'll come back out and you feel a lot more relaxed. You had that purpose that you went and done something. That's all it is. That's road man, a road man. That's a road man way of thinking, you're just get yourself in the gym, bun that, mental health and all that. What do you say to that?
Well, yeah, that's one way of looking at it, I guess. But to be honest, I always say this to G. A lot of these words are thrown around so much now. We become a bit desensitized to them. Mental health, I'm just trying to think of some other ones that come to mind.
Anxiety,
but
depression.
Self-doubt, all of these buzzwords. I start switching off after a little while. It's just, I think, yes, we have to do anything that makes us feel better. So actually, I do go to the gym pretty much every morning. Early, I meet my friends, 5:30 in the morning.
Wow.
But I love it. Well, they're there, right? So that will make me... No, but like today I did legs, but I was like, try not to go too crazy, because I knew we had this to do. So I don't want to be falling asleep later. But no, but yeah, I agree. I think it's important to release that energy. I don't wake up thinking, oh, I don't feel good, I need to go to the gym. It's like, you know what? I'm going there for myself. I'm meeting my friends, because if I don't go tomorrow, they'll be like, where were you?
Accountability partners.
But I really enjoy it, and I love seeing myself getting stronger. So that, I guess it personally sets me up for the day, and I'm sure everyone else that works out, doesn't have to be in the morning, it can be any time of the day, but it does. I think it's so important to be outside, whether you're walking, getting some fresh air, being in nature, whether it's the gym or not. I go through phases where I find the gym a little bit boring, actually. If it wasn't for my friends, my gym family, I probably would have started something else. But I think just that encouragement is there. But
sounds like a relationship.
What with what? The gym. With the gym.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It gets a bit boring. If I didn't have the right circle.
No, it's true. But I think it's good to mix things up as well.
Yeah.
And I think it is exactly that. It's about energy. Where do you want to utilize your energy to get your mental state, your mindset in the right place? So I'm the opposite to Amrit. I'm not a gym goer. I would probably write. I would express myself in a creative way, and that would probably get myself back to a state where I want to get myself back into.
So how do you find yourself? How do you find where's your outlet? where it could be in the gym or writing, how do you know? Like you're sitting down confused, like
I think confusion is a great state to be in when you're ready to explore. So explore the gym, explore creative writing, explore arts, explore a good walk in the countryside, explore a walk by the beach. That actually, when we get confused, sometimes we see that as a blocker, but it's an opener for you to go and try new things. So I'd say there is no right or wrong, and sometimes you'll be pleasantly surprised to what actually you enjoyed versus what you thought you'd enjoy. So personally for me, I'm not anti-gym, because I'd love to go back to kickboxing, so that's quite a different activity.
I won't fight.
But I think I think the physical activity gets overused to compensate for poor mental health, or to reinstate good mental health. It's all about physical, burning calories, burning some physical energy. But actually, energy is energy at the end of the day, and where you want to use it, that is where it should be used, because that is when you have calm and inner peace. So to be in a position where you can explore, be creative, to go and even try. So something I've told a past client, write down 10 things that is your time to go and do something for yourself. Write 10 things, pop it on the fridge. When you know you've got that little bit of free time, you go to your fridge because you made that list yourself, and then you go, oh, I'm going to go for a hike today, or I'm going to go and try a pottery class today, whatever it may be. But have options available for you to go and reward yourself and go and spend time with yourself. I think that's really important. I think when we're not in a good state of mind, we think sometimes we need to be around people, but sometimes it's actually being just around yourself is enough for you to start figuring out what the next state is. And there's something that I speak to some people about. I call it the bumblebee effect, right? So you're going from flower to flower. Now consider that's your friend. You're collecting advice from that friend. You're collecting advice from that friend. You end up confused. Who the hell am I going to listen to? I came with one situation, but wow, they blew it up in another situation altogether. Their perspective on something was totally different to where I originally started. Now I think to be able to conquer things with your own state of mind is more powerful because when you're in a time of crisis and challenge, it's usually immediately it's yourself that's in that situation, and knowing how to conquer that is one of the most important things that you can ever gift yourself as a human on this earth, to be able to tackle through the nettles that come in life. Because I think to rely on people, because it takes effort. You want to call someone, they didn't pick up, frustrations building. Now I'm going to go and walk, I'm going to go knock on someone's door because I really need to talk to someone, more frustrations building, they're not at home. So what you've ended up doing, you've had a dependency on others to support you with your own mind to figure things out. But actually, you should be taking yourself away somewhere and really initially addressing what it is. And when you're ready and you're clear on what you think it is, then go and knock on that door. Knock on that door when you're calm, when you know their advice is only going to complement where your thought was taking you, as opposed to alter everything because you were in no clear mind to know in the first instance where you want to take the situation.
A lot of people are afraid to be alone. No one there, like someone always has to be there, you know? And it's a new space when you have to spend time with yourself. Because sometimes when you spend time with yourself, it's like looking at yourself in the mirror. People beat themselves up. They put conditions on themselves. Why did I do that? Why did the situation? Was it my fault? How do people start looking in that mirror? How did they start that first step of, I'm okay to be alone. I'm not going to pick up the phone to my best mate. I know she'll pick up, but she'll tell me a bunch of things, what was wrong in her life, and then we'll both have a little natter about what was wrong in my life. Or same with the guy, like, how's work, bro? How's this? Listen, this is bugging me, blah. Rather than going, right, look, this is my situation. I know what's best for me. I need to start writing this down.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah. I think solitude, being on your own, is powerful. It is so liberating, that freedom that sense of power that you get. You can't describe it. I can talk like from personal experiences, but like you said, the writing down, the self-reflection, you're the best person to do it for yourself. No one else knows your situation. No one else knows your inner thoughts, how you're feeling, how your gut feels. Like G said, I always go to my sister anyway, like whenever I need, and I feel so blessed that we've got each other for that, actually. But like we were saying, solitude, being on your own, I'm such a big advocate for it. I've encouraged even G sometimes. I'm like, go and have that lunch by yourself, like in a nice restaurant. Put that phone away. If you want to take a book, if you want to take a notebook, that's fine. But just sit there, have a nice lunch, treat yourself to that. I love doing it. I haven't actually done it for a little while, but I love it. I think it's just beautiful. You can talk to people that are in the restaurant, but sometimes just sitting in that silence, that we're not used to it. So it can drive people a bit mad, actually. But I love being on my own. I love company. I love being around lots of people, but I also feel very comfortable being on my own. I traveled, backpacked for like nearly 3 years on my own. You're never on your own when you're backpacking. You're always meeting someone. To be honest, I was actually fighting to get a day to myself. I remember that one day I was like, right, today I'm not going to speak to anyone around me.
That's so not like her.
But just the whole thing, the whole journey to say, look, I'm going to take this backpack. I'm going to go on my own. I was supposed to go for a year, ended up just under 2 years, and then came back to the UK. And then I lived in Thailand for a year. You're never on your own. But the traveling, I love, just getting on that plane, not knowing what's going to happen, that transition. I love it. I find it liberating. Even today, I won't say where we are, but it's a new part of London that we've never been to. And oh my God, my traveller, I was just like, oh my God, gee, this is a tube station we've never come out of before. And wow, is this what it's like?
Yeah.
So easily pleased.
But I love it. Life's amazing.
Yeah.
We you know what? We need to embrace that it is a miracle that we're all here. And, it's so sad that mental health, well-being is it's such a big topic. But if we really step back and look at what we have, who we have, and go, if my health deteriorated tomorrow or the next day, would I actually go look back and go, fuck, I had everything that I wanted yesterday, but I was complaining about it. So I've for years, miracle morning, keeping journals, gratitude. I used to have a bit of a strict regime, but I've kind of let that go because every day, just count our blessings, who we have. Sometimes I say to Mum, G, our family, like, if we were to be born again, I just love us all to be back together. But we've got it. But we've got it now. We've got it now. We feel blessed. Everyone that we would want in our family, we're here. Yeah. So let's not delay anything. Yes, we want, ambitious. We want to have good things, but actually, at the end of the day, it's the people around us that makes life, our experiences, our connections. And with that, I feel like we're all on the same wavelength and we feel content. So then we can go out and make even more memories and support other people. I think that's probably where, just feel content and
I love that. I really, really do.
Sorry,
love
I
that.
get a bit passionate
because
great. I just feel just happy.
I love that flow. You just got into a flow state there. It was brilliant. It's like, I want to be exactly where I am in the right place. It's supposed to happen like this, and it will happen like this again the next time. What I basically want to ask is, where do you do your research? So how do you keep updated with what's happening with society, your techniques? Like, how are you upskilling yourself to help people who are in trouble?
So we are always self-educating. I would say probably more through via online platform, through Audible, listening to books, reading books. So that's something, it's very important to take what you need from a book and then start applying it to life and actually practice something before you then feel that it might be right for our own community to share something. I think Amrit knows, I absolutely love coming up with original content. So there's frameworks that are actually original that some have not been released yet, that it would be that, you know, we've written them together, or I've written them, looking to write a book soon as well about how to deal with conflict. So there's I guess being a writer, it just comes naturally. And I think the most biggest teacher of life is experiences. So there are times Amrit and I have not got things right, but we will reflect upon it, talk about it, and say we would do that differently in that in a future scenario differently. You know, there are things that and I think that's important. You know, sometimes you could either beat yourself up about something, or you could reflect on the situation, say how you do something different, and then move on and forgive yourself. I think that's so important. So I think part of that whole kind of learning, forgiving, moving on, and then coming up with new bright ideas, that's all part of where our content will come from.
Yeah. I'm a certified coach as well, and G and I have always had coaches and mentors for ourselves because it's important.
Yeah.
You know, there's certain things that we can tell one another or from our own advisors, but it's important to get that knowledge and that expertise when it's needed, and also call it a day when you feel like that you've had that fair exchange of conversation as well. So it's important.
So, can you recommend any books to any of our listeners?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
Amrit can.
I love reading and listening to Audible. Any particular ones, or just the first few that come into
Just
mind?
the first few that come in mind
Yeah.
that helped you, that you felt, oh,
Yeah.
that changed my thinking. That had a reaction with me.
Well, I would say one that's coming to mind quite a bit. I listened to it during lockdown. 4,000 Weeks is fantastic. It's by Oliver Berkman, and I've listened to it about 2 or 3 times, and it's just fantastic. And that's all I want to say. I don't want to say too much because I hate giving stuff away. Because when someone's watched a film or a book, I'm like, don't tell me. Don't even tell me the genre. Nothing, because I like to be surprised. So yeah. So 4,000 Weeks, fantastic book. It's quite a short listen as well, so you can 1.5 speed, 1.8.
Yeah.
I'm always like, yeah. No. And it's nice when you're traveling as well. So yeah. Okay, so that one. Who Not How.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah,
next,
Who Not How is a fantastic book. And I've just forgotten the name of the author, but yeah, Google it. Who Not How is fantastic. Love that. And you say one as well.
Oh goodness, don't put me on.
Shall I not put you on the spot? Okay. Well, no, I can probably come up with something else.
Badass.
Yeah, love that book. Vishal Lakiani. Yeah. Vishan Lakiani. Buddha and the Badass.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a wicked book.
Okay.
Yeah, we love that, don't we? Buddha and the Badass.
That's a good one.
My reading list is
yeah.
cut out now.
Audible all the way.
Yeah.
It's literally like on the go.
Yeah.
You pop Audible in.
Every 40-minute journey from there to there is like, that 1.5 speed.
Yeah.
Let me download some stuff.
In like a week.
Exactly. Yeah, do that. But yeah, can you recommend any to us as well? I always love getting like recommendations.
Right. So a few books. I really like Kevin Hart. You Can't Make This Up. He's a stand-up comedian.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks he was born this comedian and he's amazing. But you realize very quickly that, he wasn't dealt the best cards. His dad was heavily into drugs. So he didn't have that support system. His mum was almost single mum. Always went to church. Worked very hard to raise him. He dropped out very quickly out of education. Went into like retail. And then had this belief. And then he went on stages where he got things thrown at him. Racist bars, pubs, thrown food, etc. And he didn't let any of that dictate him. So he put in a lot of belief that you can achieve anything that you want in life, no matter whatever life throws at you, no matter how crazy you think that idea is, and nobody else will believe in your vision. And it ties in pretty much with what you say is have some time for yourself, listen to your own thoughts. Nobody knows what you're feeling. Nobody knows the conviction you're going to do something in, how far you're going to be, how consistent you're going to be, how you're not going to give up. And the only thing stopping me is me, baby. And I'm not going to allow that. So I like reading books such as that. There's another good one called The Mindset by Carol Dweck. She's absolutely brilliant. If you haven't read that one, you should be reading that one because she tells you about work, family, relationships, the lot. And she makes so much sense.
Mhm.
She says that argument, she says that argument, and she says this argument. And
Mhm.
it's one of the best books that you'll ever read. So if you haven't read that one, I would heavily recommend them. But I genuinely like books because I'm an entrepreneur. I want to see other entrepreneurs. It doesn't matter if you're a singer or a writer or someone who dances, but anyone who's got any level of success that's captured an audience.
Mhm.
How did you get there? Because I don't want to hear about your wins. I want to hear about your failures.
Mhm.
I want to hear about your challenges. I want to hear about the bricks that stopped you from achieving where you wanted to be,
Mhm.
because that's where I'm going to learn. I don't want to make the same mistakes. I want to learn from your mistakes.
Absolutely.
You know, and sometimes people fail to recognize that because they go, no, until I make the mistake, I won't know. Why? Why?
Yeah.
We've got limited time on
Yeah,
this earth.
totally.
Yeah. And we've got a purpose. If I want to get there, I want to learn of him. Why do some of these billionaires charge 25,000 for a day with them?
Mhm.
It's not because of what they're going to sort of, you know, teach you, because they're going to just say perseverance, work hard. But it's the belief system of he has not a negative phone call coming through. He's got nothing but quality people, 5 quality speakers. It's his environment.
Mhm.
It's how he's dictated himself. It's how he speaks about himself. It's how he carries himself. That's what you're really going to learn from that person. And that's what's going to give you the value. But sometimes we have to spend 25 grand just to learn that experience. Sometimes life is very, very simple, you know, and it's us as human beings who overcomplicate things
Yeah.
most of the time,
Couldn't
right?
agree with you
Yeah,
more.
agree with you
Yeah.
100%. More than that.
So tell
Totally.
us more about the services that you sort of provide and how you help, you know, CEOs, executives,
Mhm.
you know, very highly influential people,
Yeah.
how you help them.
Amrit and I, we both have a similar pattern with certified coaching, executive coaching, or mentorship. So mentoring, and it's usually a 3-month program. So you'll have sessions within a 3-month program, and that's one of our primary services. We do bespoke workshops, whether it be for executive teams, leaders. So we'd tailor whatever that leadership team needs. So we'll come and listen to how they want to progress and excel even further in their successful business. So we'll come and support them with their mindset on that.
Gia, I want to hear the pain points.
Mm-hmm.
Who's that person you're looking to work with? What troubles are they facing? What your services will match that? Who is it? Who needs you right now?
The person who needs us right now is that they're already half successful, they're already on their way, they're ambitious, but they're getting these blockers and they're feeling a bit overwhelmed, or they're getting to the verge of burnout. So Amrit and I want to hear from them. We want to support you to realize that there's another way to do this, that you can continuously keep going forward without having to feel those fears of, and most importantly, what we said earlier was the pressures. If you're feeling pressure right now, we would love to hear from you, because you could be there and you could be, putting a facade on right now. You're smiling, you're telling everyone it's okay, you're leading a team right now, but deep down, you're feeling this immense pressure within and you don't know who to reach out to. So that's who we'd like to speak to.
Yeah. They could be also feeling lonely as well. Sometimes getting to that top position, it's hard to open up. And like we touched on earlier, speaking to the partner may not be the right fit because that stays at work. So then actually they trust someone at home, but then they can't release all of their feelings and emotions. But yes, a lot of people that we work with, like G said, on the outside, they're doing fantastic. They are. And some that we've helped, many that we've helped have seen results in a very short space of time. And we love it. And it's just beautiful to see them do really well.
On that note, can you share a success story?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There was quite a high doctor that reached out to us a few, I think, I can't remember how, a year or so ago, and international doctor. And there were struggles at home, pressures of work, isolation, confidence. But we worked together for about 3 months, and he said he was a changed person at the end of it. Relationship with family really improved, being more active in the family life as well, promotions after that, and just lots of career progression. So without going into too much detail because of confidentiality, it was just beautiful to help someone that on the outside, he even mentioned my life looks ideal on paper, and if you were to look in everything that we have, but there was just something that he was searching for. And like G said, it's when the person is ready to come to us. We're not about forcing anyone. We've had conversations with people out and about where they were actually with their team members, and we had a little bit of a discussion, but it was difficult for them obviously to open up. But when we got that person on their own, they were like, yeah, you've just come at the right time, want to work with you. And yeah, it's going really well.
And what does that mean to you guys?
It's so fulfilling.
Yeah.
Because it's not work. It doesn't feel like, and I always say this, but work's not a bad word either. But it's, I think we always have a negative connotation to it, but it's not. I can see us doing this for the rest of our lives. We've worked really hard on our vision. Everything now that we look at, how is it working towards our vision? Is this relevant? Are we wasting time? And yeah, just see us continuing in this direction. Just feel really fulfilled, fulfilled doing this. And I'm just so excited about what's to come as well.
And Amrit and I always measure our success of our client mostly by a non-returning client, because that's, it's not a business model that many people have, but people look at us and go, what? Like, yes, when someone's gone through a program with us, some could be 3 months long, which is normally the general program length, but some could be 6 months, depending on how much, it's always they have to say they want another program set, but 3 months, and then they're flourishing. Then we see that their business has smashed it. The goals that they want to be achieving, they've smashed it because they've given themselves that opportunity to reset, reconsider, get that clarity defined within what they were looking for. And something Amrit and I, realize, the clients come in for X, but actually the X was never the problem. It was, it was the other things that they weren't really opening up about originally was the factor that was holding them down. So it's beautiful to see when they start realizing that what it was. And being a mentor, it's very bespoke. It would depend. I've had some people approach for a very intense mentorship, so actually rather than it being a 3-month program, we've done mentorship in 6 weeks, and let's smash it because they've got a goal and they particularly want to smash something for a particular key milestone. Let's do it together, because I think the biggest thing, Amrit and I, we come up from a place of how can we help you. It's as simple as that. Everybody's help is a different thing that they're needing, requiring, what support they're looking for. It's varied. And, I think this is where Amrit and I feel very grateful that we actually have a good, vast life experience. From Amrit and I, from her travel, her culture, communicating from people from different ends of the earth, and then from my, vast experience from different domestic settings to corporate world. Together, we feel really proud of what we can offer our clientele.
So you complement each other, full circle.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Amazing. Is there any final message that you'd like to say to the viewers at home?
Oh, that's an interesting one. Personally, I'd like to say the most important thing is to take care of yourself, and to not think taking care of yourself is considered as a selfish behavior. It's actually the opposite. So if a listener takes anything away from our discussions today, it's about just having that mini moment after they've listened to the podcast to just reflect on maybe that one thing that they'd like to do for themselves, and just for themselves. So it could be to excel themselves. It could be to give themselves 1 hour a week. It could, what's going to help them stay strong within their mind, and to really bring that forth and start applying it.
And I love that. And can I expand on that? We spoke about different hobbies or, different interests that you can try. if you don't like something, it's fine. Just spin it and try something else, because life's so varied. It's about experimenting, trying new things out. So yeah, just don't settle for something. So I love that. Like you said, find that one thing, whatever it is. And it may take a few years to find out what that thing that you enjoy is, but it's about exploring. It doesn't have to cost so much. Just Googling what's out there that might interest me. So yeah.
Amazing. Well, you girls have been brilliant. Thank you, Amrit and Gia. If you look straight into your camera and just let everybody know how they would follow you.
Yes, you can follow us on Instagram on ublossom with a U, letter U, ublossom.weblossom. And we're on there on Instagram. And we just want to say a massive thank you to you, Sean, for having us today. We've loved speaking to you.
It's been really good conversation, and
Yeah,
it's
it's
all
been
about getting ahead. And I hope you really enjoyed this episode, guys. It was all about, how to get ahead. Sometimes you don't need to be doing better at what you're doing right now. You just need to be unlocking some of your other potential that's stopping you from carrying on growing. So I hope this episode really, really inspired you. So please don't forget to smash the subscribe button, hit the like button, and leave Amra and Gia a comment, and I'll make sure they will answer all your comments. And oh yeah, don't forget to press the share button too. Share it with somebody else who needs this. But until the next one, peace.